Redditors who quit a steady job to follow a passion. What's your story? What did you leave? What did you start? And how has it turned out? An acquaintance I met worked for a corporate law firm. He was tired of the workload and quit. He went to Alaska to be a fisherman for a year. 2 years ago he opened up a body shop where he converts school buses into RVs and now makes almost as much as he did being a lawyer. I quit my full-time job in radio to be a stand-up comic. So far, I've moved back into my mom's place, work at a grocery store to pay rent. I'm a student at Second City, and so far I've made $40 telling jokes. I was a store manager at GameStop. It was terrible. I decided I'd rather make games than sell them, so I quit with no real plan. After about a month of being unemployed, I got a customer service job at Blizzard. Through that job I met J. Allen Brack and decided I wanted to do what he did. Producer. Now I work at BioWare as a development manager. Everything went better than expected. That's fantastic. Nearly every manager I had while working at GS had a dream of making games but ended up staying at their job for the security. They were all miserable and I hope they get out like you did someday. I went to art school, ended up working in IT support for 5 years. It was a fun, interesting, challenging job, and it paid well, allowing me to live up my 20s. A lot of my company's clients were design firms, and so I spent a lot of time around designers, and always felt sad that I didn't make it as an artist or designer. I started teaching myself 3D modeling as part of a side project, and I got pretty good at it. A few years ago I made the jump to working as a freelance 3D modeler. I've found a specific niche within the field, which is modeling vegetation and landscapes. I get a good amount of steady work from landscape architects, city planners, and architecture firms. It's been hard leaving the security of steady paychecks, benefits, paid vacation, etc. I have to supply my own disability, health insurance, and the scariest time is when there's no new projects on the table. Still, I've survived and even thrived over the past 2 years, and so I am starting to feel secure and knowing that more work will show up. The hardest part is that it's all up to me. Every dollar I earn comes from actual hours of work. No more goofing off and still collecting a paycheck. The days are unstructured and I have to make myself do things like not work in PJs until mid-afternoon. I get envious when I see people come home from their jobs and I know that their work is over, while mine is always there, and there's always some project I could work on for a few hours. Client management is a B as well. I write a lot more emails than I would have expected. The best part is that I've never once looked at the clock at 3 PM and thought 2 more hours until I'm done. I enjoy absolutely every moment of my work, and it's addictive. I give myself a little happy hour on Fridays and work while drinking beer as I close out the last day of the work week. I can even decide that Friday is a day off if I want to, or Monday for that matter. The path I've chosen is as hard as it is rewarding, and I'm not sure I'd recommend it to someone who isn't prepared to spend countless hours just getting started from nothing, but I am mostly glad I decided to strike out on my own. I quit a cushy consulting job to start my own web design firm. Had everything in place and ready to go. Was really excited. I am now jobless and near broke. Barely keeping up with my bills. Looking for another 9-to-5 job. Make sure if you do it right and for the right reasons. Make sure you have adequate income and a long-term plan. I've been in IT for 19 years. It was really fun in the early and mid-90s. Before every AOL tard and grandma discovered the interwebs. Before Y2K. Before idiot managers destroyed the enjoyment of technology. I just walked away from a $75k job that was going nowhere, but going well. It provided for my lifestyle and involved interesting technologies. However, the managers were tools and the customers clueless. I now live at 9,500 feet of elevation at a world-class ski resort. I am making $60 a night tending bar and waiting tables. I eat and drink extremely well. I ski nearly every day. The summer mountain biking is world class. Yes, I am struggling on the financial side. However, clarity of thought, fitness of body and lack of anger and hatred toward my fellow man make up for the moderate income I was struggling with. 15 years of wage stagnation. Simply not worth it. After college I worked at Apple Computer's headquarters. In 2008 when the economy tanked I had to get a job at a deli. I worked there for years. While I was there I started making these little films with my flip cam. Then I saved for a $400 Nikon Page 500 so I could make a music video for my band. It turned out really well. So I saved every penny and bought some editing software, some lights, and started doing video jobs on the side. Every morning I would wake up at about 5 AM and tackle the Adobe Classroom in a book series learning After Effects, Premiere, Photoshop and Illustrator. Then I spent 6 months saving for a real camera, the Canon HFG10. Then, right after the new year, with a nice portfolio of demo work, all done before the sun came up every day, and about $1,000 in the bank, I started working on my own production company full-time. I started with low-paying jobs but I made sure that every day I was doing something. I did a ton of jobs in my first year and got all my bills paid. I did weddings, birthday parties, tons of music videos, and corporate spots. I even was contracted to work on a few projects for major companies like Chevron and Del Monte. I was able to buy a new camera, the Canon 5D Mark II, along with some new audio gear. I created great relationships with my local camera rental place, where I rent all my big lights and extra gear. It's been a year since I quit the deli. I didn't make a ton of money, but I made enough to pay all my bills, get new gear, buy my lady a new MacBook and an engagement ring. I have a business license and have to pay a ton of taxes. But my worst day doing this is still better than my best day at the deli. I quit a really atrocious graphic design job years ago to draw a webcomic. It took a few years of work, building a fan base up, doing freelance illustration on the side, but this year it paid off with a really successful Kickstarter campaign. Now I'm a legit self-published comic artist and it feels pretty good. Granted I'm still too poor for luxuries like health insurance or even a cell phone, but I'm doing what I love, which is more than most people can say. One of my best friends graduated from college as an econ major. Soon after he was hired as a controller for a large real estate development company, but he really wasn't very happy entering numbers in a spreadsheet all day even though the job was relatively easy and stress-free. His real true passion was basketball, so he decided to pursue it professionally. One day he quit and took the only job he could find in the industry with his experience, which was selling shoes at Nike Town. About a year later he got really lucky and landed an unpaid internship with an NBA team. He worked hard and eventually got hired as a scouting assistant, then a scout, then, after several years of hard work, he made scouting director. He has now worked for the same team for almost 2 decades and was just recently promoted to VP of operations. I was the top producer in a large industrial supply sales organization. Big money, great perks, but didn't like my lack of control over policies and direction of the company. I'm not a whiner, and when it felt intolerable, I left and formed my own similar but smaller company. It's been 20 years and I never stop questioning my decision. I don't really like the control that I resented not having. I've learned that I'm a better follower than a leader. My income can swing drastically from month to month. Work is on my mind 24/7. Every problem, from a major audit to a leaky faucet, is my problem. I no longer have the option of quitting and doing something else. Of course there are offsetting positives, but the grass is not necessarily greener on the other side. I would have to agree with this response. You can quit and pursue your dreams anywhere, but you still have to deal with the day-to-day muck. It may be different muck, but it's still muck. I quit my retail job to play online poker for a living. There were good and bad parts, but overall it was a great experience. I did it for 1.2 years, then the Dodge shut down the major online poker sites. All in all, everything turned out pretty good. There were some stressful times, but I had a lot of fun and a lot of great experiences. I'm just about to make this type of move. I currently work for a large, well-established law firm in Florida. Steady paycheck, benefits, and real possibility of wealth if I stay. Last year I got the itch to strike out on my own. I have about 4 years of experience. My current firm isn't challenging me enough, and because of its size I don't like the bureaucracy. Although I haven't told my employer yet, I will be moving Jan 23 to Connecticut. A law school friend and I already have an office with our names on the door, just waiting for me to move. We'll see how it goes. These types of threads normally end up being nothing but a list of success stories because the people that it didn't work out for aren't really going to talk about it. I'll throw out one for the other side. I haven't left my corporate job, but I've witnessed a lot people in my industry do it. I work in a pretty niche job market. It involves knowing one particular piece of software really well that also happens to be old and crappy. A lot of the people that know it are getting old and retiring. It's used by investment banks. As a result, there's few people that know it and we all get paid well. I personally know of 6 people that got totally fed up with it. It does suck. And left for their passion. There were 2 attempted chefs, an attempted startup, an attempted record label, a guy who wanted to go to Thailand and work as a Muay Thai fighter coach. They were all super happy when they left, and they all came back in under 2 years because they weren't making money doing the other things. I'm not saying people shouldn't go for it when they have something they want to do. It's just quite often hard to find a thing to go for that will actually involve you making money. I think about leaving quite regularly. I'd love to leave my job, but I don't know of anything that I would really enjoy doing that I could realistically expect to be paid for. Quit my job. 2 weeks later I was living on a converted blue badge school bus traveling North America playing music, from Maine to Alaska and back twice. Had a great smut rock band and made a living the following 4 years warping minds. Band breaks up. I was poor to start with and now the same. Wouldn't change a thing. I had a great job doing PR for a library. I was making more money than I ever had before and all around loved my job. It was a difficult decision, but I decided to go travel instead. I left my job, used all of my savings, and moved to Chile. I studied at a local university to improve my Spanish and took a few months to backpack through Chile, Argentina, Peru, and Uruguay. I'm back in the United States now working the most boring job ever, but I wouldn't change a thing. On my trip, I met some of the greatest people in the world, and the whole adventure changed my life. Till libraries run PR campaigns. I left a really cushy job in the US Air Force. I was in supply. The work was important but very easy. Full benefits, guaranteed paycheck, 30 days leave a year, federal holidays off, education assistance, life insurance. I mean the list of military benefits is unreal and unmatched. Very difficult to walk away from that. I was making about $52,000 a year if you don't include benefits when I decided it was time for a change. I did 6 years and a cushy retirement check starts after just 20. But I wanted to fly. I was deployed to Honduras while I was in and I got to ride in a Black Hawk for the first time. A life-changing experience. I decided then and there I wanted to fly helicopters. So I got out, left my station at Langley AFB-VAR. Spent about 6 months with my family at home in Wisconsin, packed up my dog, Xbox, and a suitcase of clothes and drove out to California to go to flight school. A year later I am a certified flight instructor with an instrument rating and 205 hours. Unfortunately I have been unable to attain employment since that time. I am now living in Monterey, California, still going to college and working partly as a barista. And I spend all day imagining I'm in the cockpit. If I never fly again it was worth it. There is nothing I would rather do with my life. Well, I quit a really good job as a sales engineer for a tool and die shop. The shop was divided into 2 departments. One side was plastic injection mold building and repair. They also fabricated and repaired blow molding molds and rapid prototypes. My side was specialty machines supporting mostly plastic parts. These machines would automate assembly or part sorting, robotic tooling, all kinds of really cool stuff. I worked there just over 10 years and never had a dull moment. I got to invent stuff daily and bring them to fruition with someone else's money. Was a way cool job, but I quit when a dear friend and co-worker was retiring. We left on the same day. I was paid very well, had 5 weeks of vacation and my boss was rock solid. I just got sick of the automotive industry. In Michigan here, just wasn't much fun anymore. I spent too much time behind a computer, getting out of shape and requiring alcohol to cope. Was a stressful job. So I took some of my retirement and invested into something completely out of my element. I have a degree in plastics technology but avoided this altogether. I purchased a large mobile blasting unit. Think sandblasting but with high-tech materials. Baking soda, walnut shell, corn cob, glass bead, steel shot, plastic pellets, etc. I also purchased a large, enclosed pressure washer capable of hot water and steam. Going to do some physical labor. Hope to get in better shape. I will never make the kind of money I used to, but I expect to earn what I make. It's all good. Just hope my old butt body can keep up. Kind of funny though, I have turned into a bit of a hippie since I quit. Long hair, long goatee, tattoos. At 45 years old, I'm just learning how to live. Quit my job as a social worker. Not a lot of money, but I loved it. To become a, wait for it, banjo player. Currently in the studio working on my band's 4th album. 200 plus shows a year. Spend a month in Europe annually. It's an unbelievable amount of work and I've lost several girlfriends over being gone all the time. Still worth it. I have a friend who put himself through paramedic and fire school. He got a great job making $65k and had the ability to retire comfortably 25 years later. 5 years into it he got bored and decided to chase his dreams. It was a huge mistake. 2 years later the company he helped start has failed and he can't find another firefighting job. He's spiraled into depression and his life is starting to come apart at the seams. His experience only reinforced my belief that you do something to pay the bills so you can do something you love. You only quit and try to do it full time until there's no doubt the cash flow is there to support yourself. Risk is risk. You have a low tolerance for risk. Your friend thought he had a high tolerance for risk. I didn't quit a steady job, but I did drop out of school to follow my dreams. I finished my freshman year of college and had a moment of inspiration. I was going to bicycle across the USA. So in the summer of 2010 I biked from Portland to NYC. Despite an absent cycling partner and having no idea what I was doing on 20-year-old equipment, it was the time of my life. In early 2012 I dropped out of school. I was a junior. I sold my car, my drum set and bicycled across Europe and across most of the USA again. This spring I'm going to bike from Niagara Falls to Anchorage, Alaska and live there for a month. After that month is up, I'll have a one-way tickets to Asia waiting. I'm hoping to teach English in India. Jesus. I sometimes think about biking to work, then I'm like, nah. I quit my 60k plus job at 24, cashed out my 401k, and secured investments to start my own company to compete against my old company. It's only been 6 months, and we aren't turning a profit yet, but so far so good. I quit an 8-to-5 job working for a local bank as tech support. I decided to become a Peace Corps volunteer, so I applied to the PC prior to quitting. I got accepted and left the bank. I loved the people that I worked with. I hated the area I lived in. It was a small college town. Your choices of dating were single, unwed mothers or single, unwed mothers who were still in high school. I did Peace Corps for a year. It's normally 2. I found the best woman in my life while serving. I put a ring on it, moved states, and now I start work at 3 AM, but in place that is more awesome and with my best friend. I kind of did the opposite, didn't take a steady job to follow my occupational passion. I got offered 65k, almost 3x what I was making doing part-time work, to do phone tech support for a streaming services company. I turned it down to continue hunting for jobs in live TV. I eventually found one, for way less than 65k, but I am much happier than I would have been doing phone support. The reverse also happens. People quit their dream job, their passion, whatever, to work a stable career, because they got married, or the GF got pregnant, a house needs to be bought. After 30 you start to think about saving for retirement. I think this is the more common story. Or they quit their dream job just because financially it doesn't make ends meet, and it gets tiring always being broke and frugal. I dropped out of university to become a full-time Redditor. Things are going great. I almost have 2,000 karma kill me. Well, keep at it. Once I hit 3,000 karma all sorts of doors open up for me. I'm the most satisfied I've ever been and have a steady karma income which allows me to do all the fun things I've always wanted to. I recently visited Las Vegas and other subreddits like it. I quit a PhD science job to play music and write. It went fantastic, though. Eventually I ended up going back into science. Totally different job though, much more independent, more fun, better paid. Now I do a balance of part-time music and part-time writing, usually alternating 3-year stints of full-time science and then a year of music and writing. I love the flexibility I have now. Lessons learned include: don't rule out the chance that your current field might still be good for you if you take a break to recharge and or search out a better position. I kind of did a lateral shift to a different area of science in the end. Discovered I did love science after all. It's just that I had been in a sucky job. Have a ton of savings. 2 years salary is good. Have no outstanding debt at all. Learn to live very frugally. Frugal is great. Have quick ways to get spare cash when you need. Dog walking, copywriting, medical transcription, bartending, whatever. Something where you've got a track record, have some connections, and can drop in now and then to cover a shift whenever you need a bit of cash. If the dream involves starting your own business or being self-employed, take a small business accounting course. I so wish I had done this. Also research the market thoroughly and try to give yourself a reality check on how many people actually will pay money, and how often, for what you want to do. Also start reading stuff like the New York Times small business section and the You're the Boss blog. Also read up on self-employment finances in particular. Be aware that if you're self-employed your federal taxes will be much higher and also you'll need to cover health insurance. Result, you need to charge a much higher hourly rate when self-employed than a comparable salaried job. Start out part-time if you can, while still working your other job, to build connections, clients, experience. Then the transition to full-time can be pretty smooth. I worked as a manager of a martial arts studio for a while. Loved the job quite a lot, but I'd always wanted to pursue a career in music, so now I am. It's been a tremendous amount of work, but I just finished my very first album. Best decision I've made in life has been to follow that passion. I left a high-paying job to move to Malawi and start a non-profit to help orphans and those suffering in remote villages. Been here a year, got married and just had my first child a month ago. Life is good. Broke, but good. I recently quit a job as a medical editor, which I was lucky enough to land right out of college, to pursue a career in musical theater acting. It's hard, but I love it far more than sitting at a desk all day. And yes, I have to live with my parents and will probably get a crappy waitressing job just to cover the bus tickets to the city, but it'll all be worth it if I can just get even one professional gig. Life's too short not to at least try, especially when I'm lucky enough to have parents who can financially support me for a while. I agree. You make your own reality. Too often people don't take advantage of the choices they have. Great for you. Best of luck. I had a 10-year job teaching high school physics and chemistry for about 5 years. My passion is making videos, but I never studied it or anything. I taught myself to shoot and edit after school, after marking and extracurriculars were done, by exploring abandoned buildings with a camera, and filming performances for friends in bands or special events. By my final year of teaching science I was shooting music videos and web ads to supplement my teacher's salary and not getting any sleep, so I decided to resign and start my own production company in 2007. Then crap hit the fan in 2008 and the economy collapsed and nobody wanted or needed videos and I nearly starved, lost a tooth and about 60 pounds, and couldn't get a job teaching again because the job landscape had changed and lots of unemployed engineers were resorting to teaching my subjects. I did the only thing I could, which was move to a new city and try to really make the video business work. Today my business makes veterinary medical videos, so many puppies and kitties, and I have a regular 9-5-day job shooting for the Naked News. I love my life and every day I'm thankful for the growing pains I went through to get here. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.